Now your vent window assemblies, they're going to take you a little bit of time. It's a little bit frustrating, maybe an hour and a half each side. I'd say 5 or 6 on a scale out of 1 or 10. You're going to want to get everything lined up first. So you get yourself a hammer, screwdriver, 1/2-inch wrench. We've got a zip tie here. I went ahead and I ordered my rubber from Brothers. At the same time I ordered my rubber, I also got my rivet installation kit. What I want you to notice here is that we've got a ton of rivets in here. You're not going to more than likely use all of those. We give you extras because there's different for different years. And you also have this little guy right here. If you'll notice this tip right here, I don't know if that comes out on the camera or not, but this is a specific tool that'll flare out the end of the rivet. Take a look at these little rivets right here. They're slightly different. These are what's known as a pivot rivet. And the pivot rivet is the guy that goes right there, so of course your glass can pivot. You're also going to need maybe some pliers. Sometimes I'll just use the regular rivet gun. It'll be easier in some of the spots. A little detail spray, that'll help my rubber slide into my metal channels. I'll have a drill, Dremel tool, that kind of stuff. So nothing really all that crazy. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my glass out. Now if I'm saving my glass, I'll get tape over this to make sure it's protected. And I'm going to go ahead and I just want to get the bottom of this rivet right here off. In order to do that, I might get a Dremel tool and just lightly grind it. I might get a drill and drill it out. If you are using the drill though, be careful and don't drill the hole out larger. Just get the tip of that rivet off and then you can go ahead and pop it through the rest of the way using something like this right here. Now at the opposite end right here, I want you to notice this. Okay, this has got a lockdown right here and all you got to do is bend those tabs back a little bit. And then you can take off the bolts on the end here. I went ahead and got oil on this and prepped it all up before, of course. And the reason that I have this zip tie here is because no matter how many times I do this, I always forget the sequence of how it goes back together. So what we're going to do is we got our zip tie, we'll put our nut on there, then we'll put our lock washer, our spring, and then you have 2 washers down here. And after that's off, I'll go ahead and set that aside. Now you've got 2 more washers up here, and one of these washers is a bit specific. I'll show you that a little bit more once I get it apart. Now before I take this too far apart, let me show you this little kicker here. Once we get our pivot rivet out, I'm going to go ahead and get my glass out like this. And then this might be stuck in there a little bit because of the washers that are still in there. So you'll have to jiggle it around and stuff to get it on out. Once you get it out, what I want you to notice is that you have 1 washer here that just looks like a regular washer. So we're going to put that on here. And then you've got this guy. Now you can see it looks different. It has a rectangular piece on there that fits onto this rectangular piece here, and what that does is that when you go back and forth, it allows the window to open up correctly and shut correctly. If you put this little guy on wrong, you're not going to be able to do your window. So make sure you see which way this guy goes off, make sure you put it on your zip tie and you don't lose anybody. And now we'll be able to remember our sequence properly. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of my rivets out. I'll show you what comes next. The name of the game is to be careful with your rivets and not to do any damage anywhere. This piece here, it'll generally come out, but sometimes it'll be so brittle you'll have to get a screwdriver there and break out every little individual piece. Now I'm not going to bore you with me pulling all this out of here, so I'll do that later. But I want you to notice this. For this piece here, this has a bunch of tabs right here, and all we have to do is bend those up. Now some years will have rivets for this. That's why you get those extra rivets in your kit from Brothers. All you got to do is bend those tabs back, and then this will typically come off easily for you. So you can see that. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up some. You know, you might want to get yours and paint them, but I'm just doing a nice quick little thing here for you, so I'm not going to get too crazy about stuff. First we'll assemble this right here. We're going to make sure that we got the right side rubber. You'll notice this indentation here that's just going to line up with this guy right here. Another thing I want you to notice is this right here. You can see how this channel has the groove on both sides, and then obviously that channel is going to fit right into here. This is the frustrating part right here, getting all this in. You'll have to try it a couple of different ways maybe. This is also where you get your detail spray, and you don't want to use WD-40 or anything like that because it'll soak into the rubber. Now, so I'll slide this on the bottom and I'll kind of get it anchored in. I'm going to make sure that I am flush with my edge right here. And I'm going to be sure that my corner is tucked up into here. And sometimes a tool like this will help you. So usually it's a good idea to get the bottom side into the channel, and then you can just simply tuck the top in and just keep working yourself around like this until you get all the way down. I'm going to do that and I'll come back. All right, now this is an important part right here. We got to make sure that our rubber's in the right spot, everything's smashed together just right. When we're putting our metal together, we can't have any gaps in there. Another thing that we have to make sure is that we're using this tool correctly and that we're getting it centered right on our rivet so that it'll mushroom the head out properly like this. So I've got this on here and I'm going to make sure that it is centered up on there. There we go. You can feel when it's in the center, and then I'm just going to lightly tap it down to mushroom this out. Ooh, that's looking good. Okay, and that is how it should look when you're done. You can see your metal is totally together, and you can see that the rivet is completely mushroomed out nice and even. Okay, now that one's pretty easy, but some of these can be a bit difficult, especially down on the lower ones here. It's a little difficult to get into the correct spot. So I'm going to get the rest of my rivets in here. You might have to get a little inventive. It's best to have a buddy hold it for you. And you might have to make a vise or an anvil in your garage and set up something specific for this. So it's not just one size fits all and pops right in. You're going to need a little time to get them all in. Next we're going to put in this piece right here. I want you to know a couple of different things. There's a little notch right here, at least in this particular year specifically. And you want to make sure that this edge right here is facing against this, and your prongs are going to be facing towards the holes that are in here. Another thing is that these slide into little pockets right here that are specifically made for them at the top and the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and slide those guys in. Have to bend it a bit like that and then get it in. It'll take you a minute here to make sure that it's all in there properly. Okay, we're good to go there. Double check it on both sides. Looking good. I'll bring over a little brace right here. And then I'll just bend these guys down one at a time, making sure that they are really good and firm on there. I'll get them basically set up, and then I'll come back and double check the whole lineup. got everything double checked. I'm ready to put my glass in. Now, if your glass isn't any good, don't worry about that. We've got new glass. You might want to clean up your frame here and get it painted and such. If your handle's bad here, don't worry about that. We got it for you too. Now, this is relatively important here. You want to come in from the outside, if you will, when you're going to go ahead and install this. And you're going to need to bring out your zip tie here. You need to make sure that you put this guy on correctly. And then your washer. So we'll slide this up in. Don't forget this guy is rectangular, and so it'll be a little bit difficult to get in. Okay, so we got our funny washer on, regular washer. Okay, get our zip tie out. We've got our two washers here, our spring. You have your lock washer and your nut. Now, how much you tighten down this nut will depend on how much traction or tension you have on the window. You know, sometimes they just flop around. You need to tighten this to where you like it personally, and then go ahead and bend your tabs down. I'm not going to do that just yet because I want to finish off my rivet up here. So now this is lining up for us pretty easily. I'll take my pivot rivet. You notice that it looks different from the rest of them. It's going to go in from the top here and then down in like this. Now I'll get me some support and I'll get my tool and I will mack that down nice and easy. All right, so now we're good here. Now I'll tighten up this the rest of the way. If I was to tighten this up, then it's going to make this more difficult. I'll get it tight to where I like the traction on it. And not too firm, not too stiff. Right in the right spot. I'll bend these guys down. And I'll put a little bit of oil on this, of course, before I put it back in the truck. But you can see it's not really that bad. You can do it. I'm here to help you out every single week. You make sure you check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe, because I'm here doing this for you.